life and acting it's very close, you know. If you become a better human being, I believe you can become a better actor. In the sense, if you know yourself, you're going to become a better actor, because you can deal with stuff that is hidden that maybe you don't know you have, but once you discover these things, you can use them and not let them like overwhelm you. So yeah, it's an inner work that goes with the actor's work. For me, it's really linked.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, bonsoir.
Well, aren't we lucky here at the foundation to have Philippine with us? Wasn't she magnificent?
Thank you.
It's just a thrill to have you. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, could I just ask you, how did you get involved in this wonderful production?
Oh, in the simplest way, a casting director that called me and said, "Okay, you should read this part, but it's not for you because you're much too old for the part. But I think you're the character. But you should try it at least." And when I read the sides, I said, "Yeah, of course I know this one." Um, so I went and read, and then I didn't hear nothing for like a month and a half, and I thought, okay, they went for a younger actress, which made sense. And then I got a call back, and Darren was in Paris, and I was super scared. But so we did the second round of auditions, and they called me back, and it was great, and I was super happy.
The rest is history. I'm really interested in this because, we see Sylvie as such a confident woman. Talk to us about how you handle those nerves when you were meeting with Darren as you continued toward getting the role.
Well, the really funny story is that Darren did tell me afterwards, like a few months later, he said, "I liked you because you were fragile." So yeah, I think what he wanted was somebody that was confident but yet vulnerable. He didn't want like the typical just one-sided French bitch. So yeah, so it was funny because I don't know how I didn't handle anything. Actually, Darren writes in a way that just makes you go there, and you don't really need to overthink it. Especially, he doesn't want you to overthink it, and he's right. So I just basically, played with what he was writing, and it was so much fun. And I did get an inspiration from people I knew as a teenager, because my mother worked in fashion. So obviously I knew these women. I mean, they were like part of my life when I was 13, 14, 15 until I was 20. So yeah, I got inspired by these people and my mother. And so that's, yeah, then confidence, I don't know, that grew in me with the character. Because she kind of, Sylvie asks for that confidence. So when you channel her, there's something about that. It's just, you have to. But in real life, I'm so sweet. Yeah.
So
Not
far,
really.
I will say, isn't it amazing that you can bring that vulnerability actually plays into your strength?
Well, that's something I've always, even before I was an actress, I always liked people that showed that facade of, of strength and courage, and yet had that wound that you could see. That's something I've always liked about people. And yeah, I guess as an actress, that's also what I want to convey about humanity and people. People are not what they seem to be. There's always much more. There's much more depth than what we think. So I always try to sneak that inside a character.
Now, may I ask, what is Sylvie's wound? If you feel comfortable sharing. I know you have other seasons coming up, so
Yeah,
what you feel comfortable
I can't
sharing.
say everything because otherwise I'm going to spoil season 3.
Which is so good.
but there's something that we see at the end of the season that we're going to explore much more next season. But it's obviously a family story, uh, as usual. But also, we know that she lived her younger life as a girl in the South, basically bare feet on the beach, and she had this drive to become Sylvie Gratteau in Paris. And so she made a lot of efforts to become that person. And that's why also there's something I really asked the costume designer to give to me is shoes that would hurt me so that I would be able to step into her shoes that meant step into her pain. So even when I'm trying to be funny or whatever, there's still that pain, and it's super interesting, and it's a delight to play.
That is so interesting. I never would have thought that. But I love how thank you for sharing with us the ways that you get inside a character, because we're talking to a group of actors, and it's so delicious to hear what your process is, some of the ways of getting into it.
Yeah, well, I guess each actor has his own little, I don't think there's one method. Whatever suits you is the best. Whatever makes you go where you need to go is just your process is just right for you, and that's what I mean. So if you find if you find like vulnerabilities that you want to express, sometimes it's you don't express them through, I don't know, whatever happens here, but more into the body. And that's really interesting because it becomes unconscious, and so it becomes even more visible, transparent, but yet you're not doing anything. It's just there. And yeah, so I like that. I like invisible work.
Yes. Well, it shows up, that in the beautiful layers. You mentioned your mom and her influence with the modeling world, but your father was an actor.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Do you feel like you have, when you started out, it sounded to me from what I found is that they weren't, your dad wasn't so happy.
No, I don't know why this is a story that goes around. No, my dad was fine. My mother wasn't so happy. No, my dad was fine. He was very proud of me. At the same time, he wanted me to have my own career path, whatever. So he wasn't giving me any kind of advice, or he was just letting me do it. And my mother was more like, "Are you sure you want to be an actress? It's horrible job. It's super difficult." And but I did it anyway. When you when you think you have to do something, you just do it. No, my dad was more of he's more of an example of strength, and he's an adventurer in his head, so he's always taking challenges, and I think that's what I've been doing all my life, not only in acting, it's just my way of living. So yeah, that's the big influence. I mean, life and acting it's very close. If you become a better human being, I believe you can become a better actor, in the sense if you know yourself, you're going to become a better actor, because you can deal with stuff that is hidden that maybe you don't know you have, but once you discover these things, you can use them and not let them like overwhelm you. So yeah, it's an inner work that goes with the actor's work. For me, it's really linked.
That's wonderful. The show has such a sense, well, there's the romancing of Paris, of course, but there's also a focus on beauty in a lot of different
Hmm.
ways. What does beauty mean to you?
Oh, well, I was raised in Italy, in Rome, and the Italians have this sense of beauty that is that life is better if there's beauty in it. So that's how I feel beauty is in my life. I mean, I need beauty just because life is better with beauty, but not beauty in a stereotypical way. Beauty can be anything. It can be the smile of someone in the street. Beauty can be, a beautiful dress, obviously, but also a smell or a beautiful sky. Or so beauty is really important in that sense. It makes life easier, I think.
And sort of along those lines, what inspires you?
Beauty? No, what inspires me too is it's people. I always, ever since I was a child, I was always looking at people and trying to understand who they were. But just sitting in a restaurant when I was a child, and next table there was like a couple, and I would like look at them for hours trying to understand who they were, where they were living, what was going on. And that kind of, I was very curious of other people and trying to guess what their life is, or where they were living, or what was going on in between them. And I would make up all these stories. I mean, I'm sure this is happening, this is happening. And they were like, no, I mean, you're delusional. No, yeah, I'm sure this is happening. So yeah, that inspires me a lot. Watching other people live and watching how they deal with life and all the stuff that happens in life, beautiful or difficult. And it's basically what really inspires me.
What kind of roles would you like to play that you haven't played yet? Or is there something you'd like to revisit?
No, I'd like to play an adventurer. It might never happen, but I'd, one of these incredible women of like early 20th century that crossed, from Europe to India, or these people that were so incredible. Alexandra David Neal that discovered Tibet. I mean, as a European, discovered Tibet. Or I've always been fascinated by the courage and the drive of these, especially women, that they did really dangerous stuff, and it was, I don't know, the what they shared of those, adventures is so fascinating. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to, because when you play a part, obviously you feel like you're living their life. And so yeah, I'd love to explore something like that. Mm.
Wonderful. Courage for actors oftentimes is looking beyond the breakdown of what someone sees when you go in, like you were talking about when you went in for Sylvie. And there is a certain courage in that, in not allowing yourself to become discouraged because it's written a different way and that you would be a choice. Was there something that, now Darren Star said your vulnerability, but was there something that you dug into? I know you had seen it with your mother, with the models, but was there do you try to find something that says, this is why I am Sylvie, this is why I am this person?
Well, actually, my vulnerability, I thought, was the interesting thing. I thought when I read for the part, I thought, okay, this woman is wounded, and I need to show him that she is. And that's what he saw. And so.
Oh, isn't that just so inspiring? Because you found something so specific to you and that it resonated with Darren Star, and then obviously, and it resonates with us too. Something that's so fun in Emily in Paris is seeing the conflict between you and Emily, Sylvie and Emily, and seeing the conflict between Sylvie and Madeline, two very different kinds of people and different kinds of conflicts. How is that for you, playing that on the set, playing with those people and with those conflicts?
Well, with Emily, it's sort of it's a very different thing than with Madeline, obviously, because with Emily, it's more, she's younger, she could be a threat, yet she's bold and smart and innocent in a way, but not so much. And so I'm kind of a mentor, but not really, in a very passive way. I'm just going to show you how I do it. And if you want to do it with me, you're welcome. If you don't, just get out of here. It's with Madeline, it's more of a, it's funny because I don't know if you know this comic book called Asterix. Oh, so it's a little village in France that resists the Roman Empire, right? So when when I started reading Sylvie, I thought, okay, I'm the village. I'm actually the little village that is resisting the Roman Empire, the Americans coming to Paris, you know? So Madeline kind of represents that. She represents that corporate world that Sylvie doesn't want to have anything to do with. And so it's a totally different thing. Madeline scares me more, and yet I know how to tame her. Because I can resist. I can say, okay, I'm going to stand my grounds, and if that's why at the end of season 2 I just do my little révolution française, because obviously I don't want to go there. I'm sorry, but I'm not doing this. You know, I'm not playing this game with you. So it's really different. With Emily, there's more of a maternal thing also. You know, it's like when you show your kids to do things in a certain way, and you want them to see how you're doing it and learn from you. But still, I mean, I'm not expecting Emily to do things the way I do them, because I know that she has her own way. So the conflict is more of it's more something that has to do with I don't know. Yeah, it's more of a maternal thing. It's more like a mother and a child. Yeah.
Well, in the very beginning of the show, of season 1, you know, your character as Sylvie is more of a, we'll put it on the villain side as opposed to
Oh
the
yeah,
hero
totally.
side.
Yeah.
Although there are many heroic aspects to her that we find out as things go on, her strength and her courage. But why does Sylvie start to value Emily? Because in the beginning, we see that Emily is not valued at all. In fact, she's the hick. So can you talk a little bit about that journey and how that was for you?
Well, she does realize that Emily comes with a whole new vision of the world that she doesn't have, Sylvie doesn't have. And she slowly accepts it, and she slowly grows to like her, because she sees that she's bringing value to her company, obviously. So it's a very slow process, because obviously she doesn't like what Emily's bringing. You know, the whole Instagram thing, the whole, you know, technology, blah blah, and the whole not valuing the mystery of luxury, of the luxury world. There's a component to Sylvie that she likes mystery. She thinks, you know, that you sell something well if you sell it with mystery, which is not at all what the younger generation is doing. You know, it's like everything's out there. So that's basically what happens. And slowly she sees that also Emily's changes. You know, Emily starts to understand Sylvie's visions. And so they kind of, especially in season 3, when you'll see that they kind of they slowly get influenced by one another, you know, and more and more. And it translates a little bit in the clothes, that because in season 3 with the costume designer we thought, okay, we're gonna translate that in the clothes and have Emily dress a little bit more like a Parisian, and Sylvie put more colors on, because she's kind of liking this sparkly side that Emily brings. So yeah, they get closer because they start mixing in a way. There's a mix there.
Yeah, and some mirroring
Yeah.
as well. And it seems as though, you know, we can look at Emily's growth in it, in the show and in the seasons, but also the growth of Sylvie, because she didn't have her own company before.
No.
And now she does. I mean,
Right.
this is huge as far as what you're taking on, all of the aspects of that. So it's interesting to see your character grow that way too.
Totally. And so what happens at the end of season 2 is a fantastic opportunity for Sylvie to grow. You know, that's why the end of season 2 is so interesting. That's why when I got the script and of the last episode of season 2, I was like so happy to see that I was just basically doing my French Revolution, and because I knew this would like turn the tables around, and it would be like a new challenges, and as you've seen at the beginning of the season, I'm really into. I have big problems, but you know, she's courageous.
Yes, very. Let's talk a little bit about the delicious comedy in this. So, you so seamlessly go back and forth between the languages. And then there are times when it's just a physicality that you give us that translates in all languages. But can you tell me, is there a difference for you when you are landing? I'll say a joke. Landing a moment, a comedy moment, when you're speaking French or when you're speaking English. Do you do something different for that?
Okay, that's a very good question, because when this season Darren said, "Okay, we're going to speak more French, and you can have more scenes in French," and I was like, "Oh my God!" I was really thrown off, because I thought, I don't know if I'm going to lose her. I'm going to lose Sylvie, because I created her in English. So how am I going to do this? I was really scared, but then I realized that actually I was able to show a different side of Sylvie when I was speaking French that I hadn't shown in English, which made so much sense. And so, as for comedy aspect, sometimes I feel like the line is better in English. The punchline is much better in English, and sometimes the comedy in French is totally different. It's somewhere else. It translates in a different way. Um, I just let it happen, because I don't want to overthink it, which is also something I'm learning, with time, not to overthink it. Just do it. Especially when you have a very good writer, you have to trust the writing, really. Trust it, because it's when it's well written, it's just, there's basically nothing to do. Just just believe in what you're doing and just do it.
Do you improvise at all on set?
Well, with some actors, with Bruno, for instance, our Luc, um, sometimes we go there, because he's amazing and he just goes off. So sometimes but usually, no. Usually we're really into the lines, and.
Now, we have to talk about the fashion for a few minutes, please. So, how involved are you with your outfits for Sylvie?
Yeah, I would say the costumes, not the fashion, because I'm sorry, but it's important, because
Go ahead, yes.
because it is costumes. I mean, the fact that they are, you know, over the top, or we know that Darren likes fairy tales where women look incredible, and from Sex and the City, we know that. But still, they're costumes, and yeah, I do work a lot with a costume designer. We worked on, I mean, she really helped me, especially in season 1, to find that really contrived character with a corset almost, and with these shoes that hurt my feet like crazy. And we worked like a lot before. And we do endless fittings, and sometimes we're like, "Oh, can she go to the office with this?" "Oh yeah, who cares? I mean, we're in Emily in Paris. Let's do it." And it's fun because it's so not realistic, and so we could translate stuff with costumes that, since we're not realistic, we can put colors that we know the public are gonna they're gonna see these colors. It's gonna make them have that kind of mood. I mean, it changes the mood if you put a different color, not only for you as an actor, but for the audience. So it's interesting. There's so many things that clothes can translate, and in a very subliminal way, and that's super interesting. And Marilyn Fitoussi, who's basically now is doing season 3 and season 2, she was half and half with Patricia Field. And season 1, it was Patricia Field and her too, but it's more and more Marilyn. And well, even Patricia was crazy. They're crazy people. They're just over the top. They love it, and and it's so much fun to work with them, because they have a lot of imagination. They don't have any boundaries. They're just so that's fun.
It is wonderful fun. And have you found anything in your own life that you've borrowed from Sylvie in terms of a style or a presence with your clothing that maybe you've
N-
found?
in real life, I usually wear jeans, a t-shirt, and a sweater, and except for tonight because I'm with you guys. Otherwise,
Oh, it's so wonderful.
otherwise I'm really simple. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. It is because I mean, in
Isn't
my
anyone?
mind,
I mean, everybody is like
Well-
comfortable. That's the first thing you want to be in life, you know.
and that you wear shoes that hurt you so that you feel your character. Oh my goodness.
That's why in real life I'm flats, you know, like super.
Oh, that is so great. Well, we're going to have to wind up. You are such a delight on
Thank
screen
you.
and in person, isn't she?
Oh, thank you.
And you're also so generous. Thank you for
Oh well,
being willing to share with us parts of your process. It's really helpful.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I mean, I'm kind of impressed to talk to you guys. But thank you, really.
Well, we wish
It
you
was an
all the
honor.
best with
Thank you.
everything that you're doing, and enjoy season 3 coming out next week on the 21st.
Exactly.
Enjoy New York. Do you still love Paris?
Yeah, more than ever.
Really?
No, I
think
used
we're
to
all in
not.
love.
I used to not really like Paris when I came from Rome. It was kind of hard because Rome is so much softer, and the people are so much sweeter. But after, thanks to Darren, I'm liking Paris more and more.
Well, it's a strong
Isn't
character
it?
in this series.
Yeah, it is.
As are you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.